The human citadel, also known as the city, is one of the largest areas in the game that is entirely optional. But it wasn't always intended to be this way. Beneath the city, the vampire worshippers would have their base, held sway by their high priestess. In the retail version, the worshippers are only seen at the Silence Cathedral, with the Undercity cut from the game. Like other areas, evidence of its existence, including screenshots from magazines and cut dialogue, was found shortly after release, but the area remained mostly unexplored by the public until the exposure of the alphas.
Mysterious figures moved under cover of darkness, their robes betraying occult intent. This temple seemed to be a source of contagion. I would find a way to infiltrate this vampire lair.
The fabled Undercity's original entrance is from City 9, a room with a large building and a high alcove allowing you to climb to an eldritch energy pickup in the retail version. In the retail version, the only way through is to go down the canal, which leads to a small cistern and then goes off into the Morlock 7 and Morlock 8 rooms, where a health upgrade and fountain can be found. These rooms were actually taken from the cut Spirit Glyph altar. In the alpha, however, City 9 notably has a vampire worshipper present, does not contain the high alcoves yet, and houses a new circular tower, but more on that later. The canal in City 9 leads through to the cistern, and instead of the Morlock rooms, it now leads through to City 10 and City 11, rooms that were known to exist and were present in the code of the retail version and discovered by the Lost Worlds years ago, but were inaccessible in the final release. This confirms how it all fits together. City 11 leads here into City 12, which takes us inside a long pipe and leads into the main chamber of the Undercity. The water canal further takes us into the first side chamber where Raziel needs to flood the room. There's also an untextured warp gate here, so this area would have had its own symbol. Ultimately, the main puzzle of the Undercity involves activating 3 floodgates to fill the cistern to get to the top. Although there are no enemies in the level itself, Raziel makes mention of them in deleted dialogue, suggesting the vampire worshippers should have been in residence. And magazine excerpts relay stories of worshippers aiding vampires, even a particularly grisly tale of worshippers committing suicide to revive fallen vampires with their blood. One strikingly ornate room features a puzzle oft mentioned in developer interviews, where Raziel was to push a block off a ledge and switch realms to freeze it in midair to use as a platform. One of the most notable areas of the Undercity is a large room containing a multi-tiered temple in the classical style, which functions as something of a jumping puzzle. Notably, this chamber contains a mural that was moved to the Fireglyph Shrine when the Undercity was cut. The mural eventually went on to make another appearance in the Dark Forge of Soul Reaver 2. Once the third lever has been pulled, the water level rises high enough for Raziel to potentially reach a climbing wall and allows him to reach the tower entrance. From here, a spiral staircase takes Raziel to the priestess area, a darkened circular room with several high ledges surrounded by shadowy doors and alcoves on the lower level. The priestess herself is one of the bigger shocks of the area. Bucking the trend believed by fans and indicated by concept art, the priestess actually appears to be scantily clad, and wears only thin straps across her top, a skirt and a distinctive headdress, her body adorned with tattoos of the clans, including Raziel's. The battle itself is somewhat incomplete, however. There is no cutscene, and while the priestess seems to have a range of animations, some still buried in the code even here, she is incorrectly positioned, appearing on the floor rather than on the high ledge she is intended to be on, which makes her rather easy to dispatch. Through the battle, she summons Melkahim to fight Raziel, although a range of vampires may have been planned had things developed further. The vampires are intended to appear from behind a number of doors on the lower level, but this too does not function correctly, and they essentially spawn in. Upon completion, Raziel was to have gained the possession ability here, although this is not given, and the possession ability itself appears non-functional, with the projectile having no effect. With the possession ability, Raziel would now be ready to head to Tyrell's clan territory, but first he would have to escape the Undercity temple. On the upper level of the priestess chamber is a portal which leads only to blank space. Lining up the maps of the areas, which typically fit together logically in the alphas rather than the mashup that occurs in retail, reveals that the priestess's chambers were actually above ground, situated on the inside of the building in City 9 with the tower. An as yet uncut high entrance in the tower could have provided an exit to the Undercity and allowed Raziel to begin his journey to Tyrell's clan territory.